Robyn O'Connell says funerals should be a celebration of life, and because each life is different, each celebration of it should be too. And being an author lends itself to basically writing people's life stories for funerals. Robyn would also like people to be comfortable with death. Robyn O'Connell from Silver Celebrant, welcome.
Hello.
Any good funerals of late?
Oh, now that's a question.
But I say that nice because, I mean, you're right. I mean, death, you know, and funerals can be quite a morbid affair, yet they're a celebration of life, aren't they?
They should be a celebration of life. There's a philosopher called Viktor Frankl who said, biography should not be judged by the number of pages, but rather by the richness of the content.
Let me write that down, that's fantastic.
And so even the unfinished symphony are among the most beautiful.
You have a very interesting tact on life, I mean, well, on death. I mean, why are people not comfortable with death? I mean, obviously because we're leaving what we know and going into something which some of us don't know. So are we uncomfortable because of the unknown? And then if we have the unknown, then does religion play a part of it? Because we should know where we're going. I mean, I'm going down. Believe me, I've had a good life here, but I know where I'm going. There's a hot rock with my name on it.
You know that the people that you know are going to be there to meet you?
They said, get your rocks off. They mean down there, hot.
I think our attitude to death is one that is a fear. You know, it's the fear of the loss of the person not being in our lives. But people actually don't die unless they die in your heart and your mind. So when you remind people of that and say the relationship that you have with that person, you still have. That person is still your mother, still your daughter, whatever. The relationship hasn't died even though the person physically has died. But it's the loss of that person not being physically present.
Because it's really hard. I mean, I was talking about my mother's funeral and the priest, you know, told some jokes and it was hilarious, but it's still hard to laugh because your heart aches so much, but you're laughing.
But happiness and sadness can coexist. And that's where we think that one should negate the other. But in actual fact, they can coexist. So I always say at my funerals, let us today be joyfully sad.
Okay.
Because while there is sadness that the person has died, we're grateful for their life and the blessings their life brought to so many.
Do you get more out of weddings or do you get more out of funerals? I mean, I'm not being funny here. I mean, nothing like a good funeral to start the week, but but I mean, do you get more out of a wedding or out of a funeral?
It's really hard to say. My passion is in bereavement, so therefore funerals are what I'm most comfortable with. I come from a grief counselling background, so that lends itself to that. Weddings, the weddings that I do are normally related through people that I've met, families that I've met through funerals, and so therefore, in some ways to those people, I represent that person that I've celebrated their life of.
In fact, you could almost do a new movie called 3 Funerals and a Wedding, because twice you've had that happen. I
have. And I feel very close to those families. I've been involved in some of their saddest and happiest times. And with one of them, it was at the wedding that the person who died 2 weeks later said to me, you know, now you just make sure that you're around for mine. I had done his wife's funeral previously. And he said, because I'm not long for this world. And I said, you'll be around for ages, don't worry about it.
What about emotionally for yourself? I mean, you get the highs and the lows. I mean, even though you say a funeral is, it can be a joyous occasion or a celebration of life, there's still that, you must feel really drained after an event like that because of there's grief. And even though you're a grief counsellor, I mean, how does it affect you?
I look after myself very well. I pamper myself a lot. And I have a great support system. I have a wonderful woman called Maria who I debrief with all the time. Because I come from a counselling background, I'm very comfortable with debriefing with someone. And my satisfaction is when I get that letter afterwards saying, you have made the most difficult day of our lives so much easier. I mean, what sort of job gives you that sort of feedback every week?
You do it from the heart, don't you?
Absolutely.
So it's not really a business at all?
No.
Wow.
You're not in celebrancy to make money.
But do you find it hard not to take the work home with you?
Well, because I work from home, it's very much there all the time.
You know what I mean? I mean, make it part of your life. I mean, can you switch off?
I do to a point. You know, it's when people sort of say to me, how do you stand to be around so much sadness all the time? while I feel for the person that's in that pain, it's actually not my pain. And the best thing that I can do for them is to create a celebration that's such a memory that they look back afterwards and go, you know, the loveliest line I ever see in a letter is, Mum would have really loved that.
I can just tell by your voice, you got this emotion is just fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah.
I have the best job in the world.
And what about weddings? Do you jump out of the cake and stuff like that yourself? No?
No, I don't, but I enjoy weddings. But they're very different. It's a very different occasion. And while it's still a celebration, for some people, it's a major move in their life that, you know, because most people now live together. So to actually go out there and make that public commitment is a really big thing. And I only recently did a wedding of a 76-year-old man to a 78-year-old lady.
I thought you were going to say 21-year-old lady or something.
No, but it was just the most wonderful celebration of love I've ever been involved in.
Isn't it lovely?
Beautiful. And he'd never been married before.
Really?
And he said to me, I've done some silly things in my time, but this is the silliest.
Oh, that's just wonderful. And what about, I mean, the different nationalities and stuff like that? How do you vary your, say for a wedding, for example, do you vary the approach? Because I would imagine if you're Greek or Italian or whatever, each one has their own traditions.
Absolutely, and sometimes I'm involved with a second ceremony. So this week I'm actually doing a second ceremony of people who are getting married in the Macedonian church during the day.
Yes.
And then just before the start of the reception, we're actually doing a ceremony of vows because the woman is Australian.
Yes.
And she wants to make her vows in English and make those promises to each other.
And that'll be a hoot after it.
Absolutely.
Lots of dancing and drinking and fantastic times.
Yes.
And do you hang around too?
Not generally, no.
Because that cake, I want to see you jump out of it.
It's not a good look, believe me, it's not a good look.
If somebody wants to attempt something worse than death, fate worse than death, and see you jump out of a cake or perform the funeral or just do the wedding, how do they do that? How do they get hold of you?
Through my website,
Yes.
mainly.
Yes.
Which is silvercelebrants.com.au.
Yes.
Or ringing me on 03 9879 7934.
Fantastic. You have such this lovely aura about you, and it's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you very much.